Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Frontline with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, as always, joined by Joe Resinello. And once more, dear brothers and sisters, let us go into the breach. Sunday night, 8 o'clock. We are across so many different platforms right now, either at the Frontline with Joe and Joe or Frontline TV. However, wherever you see us, please help us in any way by clicking a like, a share, a subscribe, the little bell, whatever you got to do. Joe and I are growing, and just to remind everyone, not only are we now all over social media, which is great, and in particular, we did a little merger. So on just YouTube alone, I think we have 50,000 or so subscribers. That's number one. We're also on Veritas Catholic Network up in Connecticut, where we have an interview show Sundays at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Today's broadcast this afternoon was Raymond Arroyo. Couple of jamokes like us, not too bad. Interviewing Raymond Arroyo from EWTN about his new book, and Anthony DeStefano with his new book. So Veritas Catholic Network, make sure you download the app. And then on Mondays, we're on the Crusade Channel. So we have our show that broadcasts there, and the Crusade Channel is at crusadechannel.com. They're the last live radio station standing. That's Mike Church's channel. So we're all over the place, and guess what? We thank God, and we thank you for all your support. Now, having said all that, the theme of this show tonight is woke. You see Joe laughing at that? Okay, because it's a joke. Woke is a joke. Okay, that's what it is. Everybody's woke, and they're all trying to jam their wokeness down your throat and tell you, well, you have to be woke too. Well, Joe and I are Catholic men. Guess what? We're more awake than you are, all you corporate America oligarchs out there. Okay, we don't want their wokeness. But what bothers us more than anything, and then we'll get into the story, okay? I was on the way here, I was listening, and I would recommend, okay, a song, all right? It's from the late 60s, early 1970s by the band King Crimson called Epitaph. If you want to hear a prophetic song and read some prophetic lyrics, go look that up. Not now, after the Frontline with Joe and Joe, okay? That is a tremendous song, and it speaks to this culture war that when I give you one line that always sticks with me from that song, the fate of all mankind I see is in the hands of fools. And if that doesn't tell you what's going on right now or describe so perfectly what's going on right now, not just in America, but all over the world, the fate of the entire human race right now is in the hands of a bunch of fools. Fool number one, who we didn't expect to actually talk about tonight, but because she came up and Joe posted it on our Facebook page at the Frontline with Joe and Joe, Maxine Waters might be the biggest fool there is. And the problem is that even in all her foolishness, okay, she gets away with saying things that are absolutely atrocious. Dangerous woman. She's out there telling people of the BLM protesters, you get confrontational. You stay in the street and you get confrontational. People did that, let's say, on January 6th. You know what they called them? Terrorists. Domestic terrorists. Okay? Now, whether you agree with that or not, it's irrelevant. It's the double standard. It's the hypocrisy. The fools that the fate of all mankind's hands are in. Okay? The fools out there, they have this double standard, so they can get away with doing anything they want. See, Maxine Waters is a woman. She's black, so she's in all sorts of protected classes. She could actually say, get out there and get in people's face and get confrontational. Joe, what's the media going to do about it?
Nothing.
What are the Republicans going to do about
nothing.
it? She should be censured. What's the woman's name from Georgia? Marjorie Taylor Greene, the new congresswoman from Georgia. So she's a bomb thrower, right? Figuratively speaking. She pisses off the left. So what do? They want her censured. They want her stripped of her office. They want to kick her out of Congress, take her off all committees. She didn't say anything as atrocious as Maxine Waters said. And the Republicans will do nothing to Maxine Waters. She won't even get a slap on the wrist, Joe Resinello. It's so sad. But you see, when you're woke, like Maxine Waters is, well, you could say anything you want. And we got a bunch of stories tonight that are going to give illustrations of this wokeness to you, and the fact that we need to tell these people, you're not woke, you're asleep. We're the woke ones. We know it, and you know that we know it. And that's why you hate us. That's why you're trying to shut us down all the time. Not just Joe and I. We know we've been shadow banned on social media. There is no reason after 2 years And believe me, we're not crying. No reason we shouldn't have at least a couple 100,000 subscribers. We know that we're shadow banned. We're not banned completely, but we know people who have been banned. Why? Because they don't like the fact that guys like us and many people out there, and particularly all good people like you, we know their game and we're not letting them play it. So we're going to talk a little bit about their woke game tonight and get into a few conversations that we think you're gonna want to get involved with. The chat room's open. We got my buddy Tom's in the chat room. Tom Gugliotta, Linda's in there, Gukas is in there. Got a whole bunch of people. People are joining as we speak. So we'll get rocking and rolling. We'll try to get to some of your comments. Please don't be bashful. Comment whatever you like, and hopefully we'll get to them.
So, as you probably all heard this week, the Democrats introduced a court packing bill to give Biden 4 extra Supreme Court nominations. Ian Millhiser from Vox, this is what he had to say. 4 Democratic members of the Congress plan to introduce legislation that would add 4 seats to the Supreme Court, which would, if passed, allow President Biden to immediately name 4 individuals to fill those seats and give the Democrats a 7-6 majority. Realistically, the bill is unlikely to pass anytime soon. But the politics of the Supreme Court reform have moved very quickly in recent years, and it's possible to imagine a critical mass of lawmakers rallying behind court expansion if a majority of the current justices hand down decisions that are likely to outrage the Democrats. Now, who cares if you outrage the Democrats? Isn't the court supposed to be about justice? It's about justice, right? Truth. Isn't that what the court is supposed to be about? I'll be honest with you. I can't believe my eyes. I can't even believe my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody who's out there who thought that Joe Biden was a moderate or a centralist, I mean, good Lord, we were saying this for months.
Yeah, we knew it.
Oh,
we knew it.
Gosh.
And all you good people knew it. The problem was, all right, we're not going to get ourselves banned. We're not going to give them that satisfaction, okay? Because let's say one person who's moderate, all right, and understands the difference between insanity and sanity. Love or hate Donald Trump, okay? He did a lot of good things for the country that were seemingly sane, a lot of which were non-ideological, a lot of which Joe and I didn't particularly agree with. But he wasn't insane. These people are insane. And all these people out there, particularly blue-collar workers that voted for Joe Biden, you got duped, my friend. You got duped. They let you believe that this guy hiding in his basement was actually going to be a moderate, or he was going to be controlled by moderates. And now we're seeing, I mean, this Supreme Court packing. And here's the thing that bothers me, Joe, and you could get into it, the intimidation factor. They might not pack the court, but they might achieve their goal of intimidating the Supreme Court.
Well,
and we already have a weak-kneed Chief Justice. So,
and history shows that, because people are always talk about FDR's court packing plan in 1937. It did not end well for him, but it bullied the Supreme Court into finally approving his New Deal policies. And that's basically what Joe's talking about. In general, threatening to pack the court can be a pretty effective tactic for getting the other side, getting what they want, basically. And honestly, I don't think they're going to get away with it. What I mean by that is I don't think Manchin and I don't think Simona of Arizona will go for it.
There might be a few others.
Hopefully.
Well, look at what happened, okay? Because you got to remember something. They might try to present themselves as monolithic. We always get that because the press, for the most part, is monolithic, okay? I think that's fair to say. There are some, quote-unquote, conservative outlets like Fox News and Newsmax, okay? That could be debatable, but they're not MSNBC or CNN at the very least, okay? The Dems are not monolithic. Stephen Breyer, the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, they're calling for his resignation. And he's a liberal. He gives them everything they want: abortion, gay marriage, all of it. They want him to resign because he basically said court packing's not a good idea.
Because it isn't.
It isn't.
It's just that simple. Bad idea.
And let me tell you something. Right now, they're having their discussions behind closed doors, particularly in the Senate. They know the House is going to pass everything. All right. With Nancy Pelosi in charge, the House is going to pass every atrocious piece of legislation there is. They know their problems are in the Senate, but their problems are not. They're not going to let their problems be known. When they go behind closed doors, you got a couple of Democrats saying, some of them that might even shock you, say, I'm not doing this. They're going to say, well, no, you have to. It's just, no. I like being a senator.
Exactly.
You know, like, let's take a guy like Tester or a guy like Manchin. You mentioned Manchin or Kristen Sinema. Okay. They're going to go to Chuck Schumer to say, Chucky, you like being a senator? You like the power of being a senator, the perks of being a senator? He's going to go, well, yeah, sure. They go, I do too. And if I vote for court packing as a senator from Arizona or Montana or West Virginia, you know what happens to their perks and all the things that these guys got, like Manchin and Sinema? Out the window. West Virginia is going to turn around and tell Manchin, you vote for court packing, you're gone, pal. Now, he's older, so maybe he caves. Sinema's not. She's young. She wants to be there for a while. Arizonans are going to turn around and say, you vote for that? And they're going to say the same thing to Mark Kelly, too, okay, who's the other senator, even though he's keeping his mouth shut right now. Bottom line is this. They're going to say, you want that job? You better not vote to put four Supreme Court justices. But again, that takes care of one problem. The other problem is that we do have a weak Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He'll cave on everything. And we don't know. We don't know where Amy Coney Barrett is. We don't know where Kavanaugh is. We don't know where Gorsuch is on a lot of these things. Are they going to go along with him? Are they going to be as weak? Are they going to feel the intimidation and act on? I don't know, Joe Resinello. I don't know. I think it's a bad move, though, on their part, on the Democrats' part.
We're here. Is it? Peter Kennedy said, this is an interesting comment. So sad we lost our country. Maybe some states will leave the union. We were talking about this today over dinner. I mean, keep this in mind. That could happen. I mean, I don't know. I can't predict the future. Think about this, though. We have a lot of enemies abroad. If they see that we're weak, don't think that they're not going to move. Like China, like Russia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are consequences. A strong America keeps the world in check. We're the only nation that has had power to the degree that we've had it, that we basically just didn't go out and conquer. Think about civilizations, the Spanish, the English, the Romans, the Portuguese. They conquered. They went to Africa. The Portuguese, they settled African nations. The Spanish settled all of South America, Mexico. They conquered. We didn't. If America's power, globally speaking, decreases through some type of split, and that could happen. I can't predict the future. Listen, it is what it is. Don't think that there won't be ramifications from that. What if China just decides to take Hawaii? Just take it.
Yeah.
Just like.
So what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Like the street, like if you're on the street in Newark growing up.
There you
Same
go.
thing. The bully comes over and punches you in the face.
What are you going to do?
You say, what are you going to do about it?
And that's exactly what could happen. You see, this is so dangerous, what's going on. And believe me, they're like lions pacing around what's going on in America. These people.
Right.
Don't think the people, terrorists. There have been terrorism on our soil in the past. Why can't it happen again?
Right.
By the way, no terrorism happened during Donald Trump's presidency.
Oh,
not one.
Did they cover that on CNN?
Oh, please. Not one incident. Know why? Because they knew if they did, it was their ass. I'm going to be honest with you. This is a dangerous, dangerous situation that's going on in the world. You know, on a many different levels. I'll be honest, it's sad. It's sad. And then also, I believe on Tuesday, they're talking about making D.C. a state.
Which that's not going to go either. Look, these are what we were told before the election. Okay, this is what we were told. Again, we know the left and the liberals were going to vote for Biden, but this is where the moderates, you know, they never want to listen until they get punched in the face. Okay, and then maybe they get a little bit woke. They want all these radical proposals are not getting by the Senate. They're not. Okay, but there's going to be a lot of fireworks. There's going to be a lot of pressure because you know how that argument's going to go. You don't want to give D.C. statehood because D.C. is 90% African American. You can hear that argument coming from a mile away.
But when in fact, from the beginning, D.C. was not supposed to be a place.
That's why
it's not a state.
Right.
It has nothing to do with anything racial. It has nothing to do with anything, actually. It's the fact that it was a place where all the states were to come together. That was the idea. You see, they don't believe in this nation. And frankly, they're destroying it. They're destroying it. I use the analogy today. I use it. It's like watching a drug addict kill themselves. They don't know how to govern. CNN recently covered something that said all Democratic-run states, the murder rates have gone up. CNN just said that.
But here's what bothers guys like us, and we know that it bothers all you out there watching us here at the front line with Joe and Joe. When all these, let's call them what they are, tragedies, all right? When you look at the murder rate and the rates of shootings in Chicago and all these different places, right?
Chicago's a war zone.
Rather than take the blame, which you know they're never going to do, that troll, what's her name? Linda Lightfoot. Okay, is that her name, from Chicago, the mayor of Chicago? I'm sorry, Lord forgive me, I shouldn't call her that. That woman, okay, from who's the mayor of Chicago. She'll get up there and she'll somehow spin it that it's racist. But it's black people killing black people. But somehow Joe and Joe, because we happen by a freak of nature to have white skin, it's our fault. Or it's systematic racism on the part of America. That's why. No, it's your stupid policies. It's your stupid woke policies. Those that are causing all this. There's nothing woke about letting people kill each other. When you stop a black kid in Chicago from killing another black kid, okay, you've done something good. It's not a bad thing to say, no, I want the one who's the criminal. I want him to be arrested and go to jail. And I want to protect the other kids. And how many people that are victims in let's say in these cases, they're not involved in gangs. They're bystanders on the street. How about the little kids who get shot? But yet somebody like her will say, well, there's an example of systematic racism in America. No, that's an example of your stupid, woke, failed liberal policies.
You know, and I'll be honest, I blame the press, and I also blame Americans because we keep voting for these people. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. You tell a tree by the fruit it bears, and the tree is not bearing good fruit, people.
Oh.
Yet it's ignored. The press doesn't cover it. And frankly, if you look deep enough, you'll find the truth. You could find it. We have access to a lot of information this particular point in history via the internet. You want to really find the truth, but sadly, people are not interested in the truth. I've said this. I can remember this when the Michael Brown situation was going on. I remember getting into a humongous argument with people on social media. That man, absolutely, I don't care if he was green, the color. He was a 300-pound man who just robbed a convenience store. He was on tape. And then he assaulted a police officer trying to get his gun. And then when it went to a grand jury hearing, all of which the people in the grand jury were black, they acquitted him.
That's right.
And people bitched. And I was like, what is there to bitch about? What do you think is going to happen when a 300-pound angry man tries to take a cop's gun?
He's going to get shot.
He's going to get shot. That's anywhere in America, whether he was blue, whether he was Asian, whether he was Hispanic, whether he was white, whether he was black. And why do I bring this up? I bring this up because I presented this to people. And basically, my commentary is this. People are not interested in the truth. They want to be affirmed. People want to be affirmed. That's why these shows, meaning like on MSNBC, on Fox News, on CNN, get ratings. People want to sit there and basically they want to be comfortable and they want to be affirmed in their own beliefs. And if the truth is presented in a way that contradicts that affirmation, they turn the channel off. And that's where we're at in America. No one wants to face the truth. That's what we try to do to the best of our ability, is speak the truth. But people don't want to hear it. I used to think that we should have a newspaper that was absolutely not right, not left. I said it was a great opportunity if someone would buy the New York Times and present the news in a very matter-of-fact way. This is the truth. This is the truth about the Roman Catholic Church. This is the truth about the Republicans. This is the truth about the Democrats. I'm like, there's such an opening in the market. The more I thought about it, no, there isn't. No one's interested. And it's sad.
You read the Times because you want to be affirmed in your liberal worldview, and you read the New York Post because you want to be confirmed in your conservative worldview.
That's where we're at. That is where we're at.
Right. And one thing I'm proud of about this show is that Joe and I, even though we've always said the left are really, they're the ones serving it up right now. All right. They are our primary target because they're the ones serving it up, because they're just proposing one outrageous thing after another. But a lot of what's going on even right now under Joe Biden's regime, okay, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago at the front line with Joe and Joe. You have country club conservative chamber of commerce Republicans, they want Biden to issue the work visas for foreign workers to come in. See, they're our enemy too. We blast them too. So if, let's say, for argument's sake, your typical bend your knee to the altar of the free market conservative watches the Frontline with Joe and Joe because they think we're conservative, and we are, essentially, okay? Yes, Father Imbarado, followed by Joe and Joe. That's one heck of a combination.
He's going to be with us tomorrow on the Crusade Channel.
On the Crusade Channel. But the thing is, now you made me forget my
thought.
thought. No, that's
it. You were talking about the New York Times.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, but Joe and I have been fair. When it comes time to blast the conservatives, those who are pro-life in name only, those who are pro-family in name only, they don't do a damn thing about it. Let's say the country club conservative chamber of commerce types who want cheap labor because that's all they're interested in, corporate profits. We blast them too. See, we're not going to affirm them. Those who bow at the altar of the free market and don't want to hear anything at all about reforms that are needed to our economic system, needed reforms, okay? You're not going to be affirmed here because we are advocates for certain tailored, targeted, limited government action in certain cases. We're going to talk about it. Are we talking about the MLB tonight?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And we'll get into it a little bit more. But having said that, we're going to move on to our next, because this is a great segue, because Joe was talking about this wokeness around the Michael Brown shooting, which is a perfect segue into our next story. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to stay on wokeness, okay? Because we're trying to wake people up, really, really wake people up. And more importantly, I think, to your point, encourage people.
That's important.
Somebody, I think, posted, the fence has been burned. We said that a few weeks ago. The fence has been burned. The left burned it down. There is no fence sitting. You must take sides. And if you value America, if you value the good of your children and grandchildren, you're going to have to take a side, and you're going to have to get in this fight. And that's the bottom line. That's the kind of wokeness we need in America.
This is a story. We covered this from the perspective of San Francisco a little while back on the Crusade Channel. Now we're going to talk Minnesota. Retailers are now under pressure from activist groups to stop calling the police on minor shoplifting. This is a story that was covered in the teaparty.com. We've covered this in San Francisco, whereby Walgreens were going out of business because any shoplifting under $800 wasn't being prosecuted. It was basically like a ticket. So people were robbing the Walgreens, and obviously they were closing. Well, Minnesota's largest newspaper, which is the Star Tribune, reported that, and this is in quotes, criminal justice reform experts and diversity specialists are urging major retailers and small merchants to reassess, this is also in quotes, how they treat Black and other minority customers and how they can handle loss prevention, which is theft, cases more equitably.
Now, then again, you got to catch the jargon here, but go ahead. There's a couple we got to talk about diversity experts, and we got to talk about loss prevention. But go ahead.
So instead of taking tough stances on shoplifting and other low-level crimes to deter criminals while protecting store owners and those abiding by the law and providing their communities with a service, i.e. a job, the solution is to cater to petty criminals. It's completely absurd to expect stores to cater to shoplifters just because they're Black. Yet in 2021, several national retailers are reportedly entertaining ways to update their policies and address bias, quote unquote, and loss prevention protocols in ways that aren't racist. Listen, I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't care if you're Asian. If you're stealing, you have to get arrested. Why? Because the store makes an investment. The people who own these stores are not all rich, and they also make an investment. Is it fair to steal from them? I don't care if you're Black. I don't care if you're white. And this is another example of politics. Do you think a store owner, who, by the way, could be Black, in a Black community, thinks that this is cool? Do you think after the Walgreens closes in the south, on the south side of Chicago, that they're ever going to come back?
Never.
That community is going to go down.
And what led to that? Let's get it straight, because when you deprive people of the place where you're going to buy your food or your prescription drugs, okay, who's paying for that? The people in the community. And what caused them to have to pay that price? Wokeness. You know what Joe was just talking about, okay? Equitable enforcement of loss prevention. That means if I go into the store and I rob a $40 product, I go to jail. That means if a black guy who looks just like me and my age, okay, walks in and he robs a $40 product, we have to be understanding. What's the difference? Theft is theft. And by the way, they'll call us racist for making that statement. Their policy is explicitly racist because because the first thing that, oh, and by the way, this goes across the board, whether you're talking about college admissions, whether you're talking about crime prevention, all of it. They constantly talk about not looking at race, and the first thing they always look at is race.
I'll tell you a personal.
And they want it reflected in the law. Go ahead, Joe.
I'll tell you a personal story like that. A friend of mine's dad used to run the UPS whole hub in Newark. And years ago, Newark has gotten a little better, but it's still pretty bad. You didn't go into certain projects. The police didn't even go into certain projects. So basically, they called UPS to task, and they said they were racist because they weren't delivering into those projects. You had to come to the hub to pick up your goods. So basically, they called my friend's dad into Sharp James' office. He went into Sharp James' office, and he said to him, very matter-of-factly, listen, my drivers are getting robbed. If you want me to go there, I will happily do it. I need police protection. And what Sharp James told him, he told me this straight to my face. He said, forget it. Don't go. That is the truth.
And that is, and here's the thing though. If Sharp James,
who's black,
okay, another corrupt mayor of Newark, went to jail, okay. If he's taking that attitude, why, let's say the mainstream media, why would anybody call him a leader? See, a leader says, you got it. Let us know where you need the cops. They'll show up there. We'll send a couple squad cars. You deliver your products and then you leave. That would be a leader. See, but they're not leaders. They're woke. So the product doesn't get delivered. The box from UPS doesn't get delivered to the person in the project who needs that product. Let's say it's prescription drugs.
Sure. May not have a car.
Right, because UPS is saying to them, you got to come down. Now, listen, you go down to UPS at Newark Airport to go pick up a box. All right, you know, a lot of these people, like I said, they don't even have a car. Okay, so what are they going to do? You're going to call them down to UPS in Secaucus or in Newark Airport to go pick up a box that should be delivered to them. My point is, then stop calling these people leaders. When you fail to protect the citizens, just like that woman in St. Louis who tried, the district attorney, okay, I think it was the district attorney, I forgot her name. She was going after the McCloskeys because they were protecting their home. Now, you want to talk about wokeness. You got a crowd of people tear down a wrought iron gate, and they're threatening these people. They say, well, kill your dog, blah, blah, blah. And they come out with a couple of, the woman's got a pistol, and the husband's got a shotgun.
He had like an automatic weapon.
Yeah, he had an automatic weapon. And he basically was saying, look, you do this. This is your choice. I'm showing you what I got. This is your choice. So back off. And they backed off, and then the McCloskeys got arrested. Now, that woman failed because she tried to be woke. Somehow you have a right, if you're in a certain group of people, that you could go in and threaten somebody. Thank you, Colin. Put in $20. Appreciate it, brother. You could do that because you're woke. Well, she got shut down. She got shut down by a judge. And basically, because she was trying to continue, I don't know all the details. She was trying to continue the action against them. She got shut down because she's not a leader. She is a woke George Soros puppet that's put there to cause these kind of problems. Okay. So what you get, like Joe mentioned, how many of these things, they excused on MSNBC and CNN and mainstream media what happened last summer? Well, destruction of property is not such a bad thing. Then let them come and burn down your house.
When they did that to Lori Lightfoot, she was just like, the police immediately
called the cops.
She's like, I have a family.
Right.
So do these
people.
And many of them are black.
Right. They have the same skin color as you, Lori Lightfoot. I called her Linda Lightfoot, Lori Lightfoot. Okay. Yeah, they have the same skin color as you. And no, you can't burn down their businesses, Jim Acosta, Jake Tapper, Brian Stelter. You can't burn down their businesses and then say, private property, that's not such a big deal. Oh, yes, it is. And if it's not such a big deal, let's test that theory. Let them come and burn your house down, burn your private property down, and see if you continue to say after that, well, destruction of property is not that big a deal. Yes, it is.
It's absurd. I can't even believe this. I really cannot even believe it.
Guys, have you seen it? Right along those lines, you can't believe it? In a woke culture, yes, you can. That's the shame of it, Joe
It's
Rossino.
nuts.
That's the shame of it.
I'll be truthful with you. It's so sad. It's so sad what's happening in this country right now. Honest to goodness, I can't even believe it. And the worst part about it, we're all going to get flushed down the toilet. Your party affiliation isn't even going to matter when it's all said and done.
No.
It's not going to even matter. The rich are going to cement their position in society. They're going to push everyone else down into the bottom. Don't let them tell you that they're going to help the middle class. They're going to help the poor.
They help themselves.
That is exactly right.
And let's get it straight. Let's all read a little bit of history, okay? When the communists, right now we're always dealing with oligarchs. Let's just say, just in general, oligarchs who want to rule the world. That's no longer a secret. That's all out there. George Soros makes it known what he's all about, what he wants, and he's oligarch in chief, and there's a bunch of others like him, okay? But what we are dealing right now is with their main proxy warriors, which are these neo-Marxists, okay, who are employing identity politics and dividing everybody. Hopefully, can you guys hear us out there?
Can you both hear us?
John Boy, if you could hear us, let us know, because you said check your connection. Hopefully you guys can hear us. It looks pretty good from here. So we'll just keep going. But anyway, what was I saying?
No, you're talking about, to be honest, I don't even.
I kind of forgot myself. No, that's all right. That's all right. No, because we do have to make sure that the connection's good. So anyway, long story short. All right. So Bradley says you guys can hear us. So long story short is, with this neo-Marxist onslaught, okay, that we're dealing with, we really need to come together. I mean, who was it? Bill Donahue said, he gave us a good example. Orthodox Jews in their neighborhoods. Now, this is part of a solution. It's just an example of one thing that you could do, because we can't do everything. All of us have to pick our roles and then follow through. Okay. Bill Donahue said the Orthodox Jews, they send their kids to yeshiva. Okay, they send their kids to private school, but you know what the parents do? They get on the public school board. They get on the public school board, and they fight against all this nonsense. Okay, because they're Orthodox Jews. They agree with us on many, many things, particularly gay marriage, abortion, a lot of it. Okay, and they don't want this woke nonsense. And what they do is they realize, even though their kids go to private school, the way Bill Donahue described it to us is that, but they know that what happens in the public school will have a ripple effect, through the neighborhood, through the community, through the city, through the town. So they are active. You want to talk about being woke and active, like a woke activist? These Jews are woke activists. They say, no, it's important. We're going to sit on the school board. These are the things we need to do to fight against them. It's one of the main things. I was going to mention, we were going to cover it last week. We never really got around to it. We need to start. And Joe's always saying, talking about personal holiness, straightening out our own homes. And that's what we're trying to do. None of us are perfect. Okay. But we have to start there and then bring it out. But it starts locally. Forget about trying to change national politics. Right now, national politics are screwed. But locally, we could do things.
Oh, yeah.
Locally, we can do things so that we could get rid of what's her name? Gardner, I think the woman's name in St. Louis. And we could get rid of some of these people. We could start voting them out and putting reasonable people in there so that they won't let people go into Walgreens and shoplift $800 worth of product and take it out. And you can't arrest them. I mean, this is the type of stuff we're fighting against. So anyway, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe, Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello, and we're way in the breach, and we're talking about wokeness. And if we're having a problem with the mic, guys, let us know. Because I thought we were pretty good. It kind of looks good from here, but let us know if you can hear us or not. So anyway, we're going to continue the woke conversation.
Now even the Simpsons must bow to the altar of the woke folks. This story is absurd, actually, but I had to bring it up.
I must say that when I read this story, I think the word absurd popped into my head.
Hank Azaria, the white actor who voiced the Simpsons' long-running Indian character, Apu, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Now see,
Abu.
I never watched The Simpsons, but all I'm telling you is this: I don't know how he pronounces it, but don't mispronounce it, or else you're getting canceled, pal.
Has been invited to meet with the Hindu American Foundation over his guilt for having voiced the cartoon character. The foundation believes that the actor meeting with the organization will help him with learning. He seems to want to basically resolve his issues of racism personally, which I question, and I want to kind of get.
When I read that, I really got a little bit sick. That he needs to learn. Okay, go ahead.
But basically, Azaria said that he believes that Apu is practically a slur at this point, and this is his words, and feels the need to go to every single Indian person in this country and personally apologize for his participation in racism.
Stop there. Everybody who ever impersonated someone of another ethnicity, okay, needs to die. That's really what he's saying.
Well, you know,
because he's an actor, Joe, and I have a background as an actor. He was hired to play a role, and the role he was hired to play was one of a character who's of Indian background who speaks with an Indian accent. Why is that racism to put out like this and say, if somebody pointed out my mother speaks with an Italian accent? Are they racist because they pointed out, or is it true? My mother speaks with in broken English, always has.
You know what I find? It's one of two things. Either he's completely bought into this madness and drank the Kool-Aid, and he literally is saying the truth, or he is simply just saying this because he's afraid he'll never get another job in Hollywood. It's one of two.
What's Joe Resinello? This is the big Italian thing. All you got to do is go like Joe Resinello is always going like this. Money moves the dial. Mr. Azaria feels that he's a victim of this wokeness that's going on, and he might not get hired.
It's one of two things. It's one, either he's, because there are true believers to this crap.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say it. I mean, I see it in LinkedIn. Serious people, we all know what LinkedIn is. People put like their resumes up there, how people communicate on, in the job scene. People now put in LinkedIn, I can't even believe it. Serious people in all fields put their pronouns, his and him. And I'm like, are you freaking serious?
Put the gun to my head and pull the trigger.
Are you serious? Yes.
Well, Kamala Harris did that during the election. Remember? Well, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. What were you about to say? Who cares?
I don't care.
See, we weren't going to say who cares. We were going to say who gives a you know what. But right. Who cares about your pronouns? You might care about your pronouns. That's your business. I mean, this is what got Jordan Peterson in trouble. You're not going to force me to use words that I don't agree with. If you're a man who thinks you're a woman, I'm not going to use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm not doing it.
The thing is, this is not like a schoolyard. These are people in serious positions.
It's big corporations.
Right, and who have big jobs. And they're actually, but here's the thing. It goes to why I bring this up is either they've completely bought into this insanity, and some people have, or simply they're lying because this is what they have to do to keep their jobs. You see, don't discount that at either. Their sincerity. These people are married to money. They're married to money.
Let me ask you a question, okay? Let me ask you a question. These people have good positions, right? They want other positions. Is it because they're worried about their job? Or is it because they feel the need to do this so they could signal, what do they call it? Virtue signaling? They could signal to their potential employer, look, I'm woke. Because my view would be this, like, look, I have a job where I have to deal with the public. I think everybody knows that, okay? I have to deal with a lot of people, the homosexual, transgender, straight, Italian, black, doesn't matter. I have to deal with a lot of people. I know how to play the game without compromising my beliefs, okay? I do. If I want advancement, I just make sure I do my job well, and I don't get into all this stuff. I don't want to be a part of all this stuff. I won't use pronouns. You could do that. You could actually have a conversation and never have to use a pronoun. So you could avoid trouble. I'm just using that as an example. My point is, and it was more of a question, they want advancement. They're not looking to protect. See, because why would you even have to say that? What you're looking to do is you're trying to ingratiate yourself to the woke bosses who are going to say, look at this fine Joe Resinello. He's woke. Let's make him a VP. That's what they're doing. They don't give a crap about this stuff.
They're insane.
Don't ever discount
insane.
Don't ever discount that.
Because I'll be honest with you. Do you actually, for a man, have to say him or his?
Right. Look at Lisa's in the chat room. She says, this is true. You can avoid the use of pronouns. Absolutely, Lisa. You don't have, they would have to force you. Like say, I want you to use my pronoun. because you could have a whole conversation with her. She's exactly, I know because I've done it. Again, I deal with the public. So I have to watch because many times, like, let's say I use pronouns, of course, but if I mean, look, there's some androgynous looking people out there, and I work in New York City. All right. And I almost stepped in it a couple of times, coming up from behind somebody. Hi, sir. Hi. It's not a sir. You know, it's a woman who from behind looked like a guy. I mean, you know, thank God I didn't get in trouble. But my point is, you know, with people that, you know, just you're 99.9% of the people I deal with, I don't have to worry about this stuff. Okay. But there is that 0.1%. And you got to know how to play the game without compromising what you believe in. I'm not compromising my beliefs because I want to make somebody feel better. Ain't happening.
They're crazy.
I'm not doing it.
I mean,
insanity is a good word.
I can't even believe it. I actually sometimes am tempted to leave a comment like, are you serious? Are you serious? This is what it's come to.
Right.
And Azaria, either he's insane or he's just basically pandering to keep his employment
and future jobs.
Exactly.
He is a pretty big actor.
No, but
I remember when he was first starting out.
Like, you know, like, to be honest with you, he has PR people and he has lawyers. They may say, Hank, listen, you got a vulnerability point here. You got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's insane. Or he feels guilt. That, I'll be honest with you, you should feel no guilt. He didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything wrong.
He's just making, listen, do you imagine some of the jokes that, like, back in the day, like Richard Pryor or like Buddy Hackett,
right?
Or like, what's his face? That
George Carlin.
Oh my gosh, you can't even laugh anymore. It's just good natured. Some of this stuff. It's not mean. It's not even mean spirited.
Right. Look, if this character Apu I hope I didn't miss that. Right. It's on television. It's on The Simpsons, which is the longest running show of all time. If it was so freaking offensive, it would have been off a long time ago. It's not offensive. I would bet you. I would bet my bottom dollar that even Indian Americans are not offended by it. Bottom dollar. I would go.
They could be laughing at it.
I was going to say, when somebody makes fun of Italians, I laugh all the time,
and they do.
I think all the time. But I laugh. Hey, listen, if it's funny, without being insulting, it's funny. Hank Azaria is simply playing a role. Okay, but here it might come back to bite him because I love this. I love this part of this story. Okay, while the actor frets about his past participation on The Simpsons, the show's creator, Matt Groening, said he doesn't really care about the chasm of criticism that his praise for the Indian character might bring, and that despite the woke whiplash, this is his words, not Joe and Joseph, despite the woke whiplash, producers still have, quote, ambitious plans and more stories featuring Apu. But guess who's not going to be playing Apu now? Hank Azaria.
Well, he's, like I said,
and it's a stupid move because as I imagine, if you're on that show, you're getting paid buku bucks. Yeah. That would be like being a supporting character on The Sopranos, making $100,000 an episode.
Go into a sound booth, you do a couple lines, you go home, you make $100K.
Yeah,
I'll take that job.
So the creator of the show is saying, no. We're getting good feedback from this. And this Hindu American Foundation, I'm going to guarantee you they're the Hindu version of the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the ACLU. They're just the Hindu version. They're just looking for gripes. Remember, wokeism is gripeism. Let me gripe about something because I'm woke. Okay? No, that's what this all comes down to. Well, and the chat room is very active right now about people, not because they agree with us, but because they agree with the concept. Wokeism is dangerous, and woke is a joke. Where are we headed next, Joe?
Let's talk Senators Cruz, Hawley, and Lee.
Let's talk about this and talk about finally seeing some stones. Go ahead, Joe.
They strip antitrust exemptions. They want to strip antitrust exemptions from Major League Baseball. I think this is a great story. This is from Bobby Barack, basically. And where did we get that from? Outkick. The antitrust exemption, this dates back to 1922, the Supreme Court case, and has been upheld in multiple subsequent cases. This is regarding Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball has experienced key exemptions from the Sherman Antitrust Act, which outlaws monopolies and business practices leading to monopolies. An elimination would weaken the MLB's power to reduce competition. Now, this is what Hawley had to say. He said, monopolies and liberty are not compatible.
Repeat that, Joe Rossinello.
Monopolies and liberty are not compatible. No corporation should be so big or so powerful that it can control the political process, that it can override the will of the voters. Now, I love this approach, and I'm going to tell you why. Major League Baseball pulled a serious move. They pulled a serious move, and they affected the economy where they were going to play that game. So now what they're doing, they're going to affect their economy.
That's it.
That is how you fight them.
Fight back. They might actually be following. They might actually be listening to the front line with Joe and Joe.
This is a fantastic approach.
Michael Zamiga's in the chat room. I just want to say you're welcome, Michael. He said, thanks, guys, for the discussion. No, we're going to keep it going, Michael. We're going to keep it going. We're going to really wake up America. That is the best point in all this. 3 senators. You don't think that people have known for a long time that baseball's been a monopoly? Of course they have. This is 3 senators basically coming out. Because remember something, MLB was brazen in this. Last time I checked, the Atlanta Braves is a very well-loved baseball organization, okay? MLB was brazen by saying to the people of Georgia, screw you. We don't care about we don't care about your state legislatures, and we don't care about your governor, and we don't care about your elections. You're going to do what we want you to do, or we're pulling that out. Now, let's talk on one level, first of all, okay? Just they're all woke, right? Yet $100 million it cost the city of Atlanta, not the state of Georgia. The city of Atlanta cost them $100 million. Who's the recipient of a lot of that $100 million? African Americans, small businesses, the businesses that work around the stadium, all the people that are going to go to Atlanta for the event itself, all the workers, all the concessions. So thank you, MLB. You just adversely, negatively affected African Americans in the city of Atlanta.
But they don't care.
Because they're woke.
They don't care. And this is why I love this move. That's what you have to do.
That's
and
right.
They'll stop. This is how you have to fight them. One of the ways.
This is a big way because they basically, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, and Josh Hawley, they basically got up in front of the mic. Did you watch the press conference?
No,
I watched it. I happened to be flipping on. I don't watch much TV. Since the election, my TV has not really been on. I get all my news while I look for stories for the Frontline with Joe and Joe, and I'm pretty much up to speed. I know what's going on out there. We can't discuss everything, but I know what's going on out there. I happened to catch that, though. And I caught it live because it was on YouTube. I wasn't really watching TV. I was watching YouTube, and I was scrolling through, and I caught it live. They got right up there, and you know what they basically told MLB? You were very brazen in that decision that you made to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta. We're going to show you what real brazenness is all about. You guys have had a monopoly for 100 years. You keep this crap up, you don't have a monopoly anymore. And guess what? Now that they've had I think they crossed a little bit of a Rubicon here, because even if MLB went to move the game back to Atlanta, okay, which by the way, Georgia still has less restrictive abortion laws than Colorado does, and that's where they moved the game to. Again, nobody said being woke means you're smart. But even if they move the game back, which they probably won't do, these senators have crossed the Rubicon. There's no turning back from this. You brought it to the floor. Now you need to pursue it, Senator Cruz. Now you need to pursue it, Senator Hawley and Senator Lee. You need to strip them of their monopoly status. You need to go after them, all right, under the Sherman Antitrust Act, and you need to allow for competition. This way, they'll never do it again.
That's the way
they'll never, ever do it again.
And the Republicans, you see, this is where they don't go for the jugular. This is the difference. We don't listen. It's so sad and disappointing. Someone said it. I think it was Bill Stelter in the chat room, because they're afraid of the press. You see, these guys, I'll be honest with you, they're doing their job. Rand Paul, and I'm not a libertarian, he does his job. He does his job. They're the voice of the American people.
Mm-hmm.
These people aren't the voice of the American people, and God knows the press is the enemy of the American people.
Yeah, repeat that, because Donald Trump said that, and he was exactly right. The press has shown themselves to be the enemy of the American people for decades, a long time before Donald Trump came along.
It is so sad, and that's exactly how you have to fight them. You see, ultimately, we control the purse strings. We're the people. We spend the money. I'm telling you this. That's a movement. That's a movement that politicians should move, that religious leaders should move, that radio personalities should encourage. Stop giving them money. Stop going to Disney. Stop it. Stop giving the money. You want to put out Disney cartoons that basically teach kids crazy behaviors? Well, guess what? We're not giving you money anymore. You have a right to do what you want to do. I have a right to do what I want to do, and I'm not giving you any money.
But here's what's you're right, and here's what's very important. MLB was able to get away with this because they know they're a monopoly. Well, as they say in Newark, not no mo. You're not a monopoly anymore, or you're not going to be. Because if these guys do what they say, and God willing they do, God willing we have some Republicans that turn around to MLB to make an example out of it. See, what we need right now, Joe, as far as woke corporate America and woke sports, we need to make an example out of someone. And these senators have set their targets on the MLB. And basically what they could say to many of these corporations, you're too freaking big. And if you think you can tell the people of an individual state that they can't vote for their own election laws or what to teach their children in their schools, okay, and you think you're going to go and boycott them or you're going to call them haters, well, guess what? We're going to come after you. We're going to come after you. This is precisely the right thing to do. You want to know something? Major League Baseball, and all sports, by the way, at least right now, is dead. They're like Fredo to Joe and me. They're dead to us, okay? Until they stop being woke. MLB's dead anyway. Wreck them. Wreck them. Why not? Just tell them, just allow for competition and let them start losing billions of dollars and make an example out of them. And then look at Facebook and look at Twitter and look at Google and look at Apple and say, you're next. You are next. So you better watch your butt. That's what they need to do. This is a good step, Joe Rossinello. I really believe that.
Well, this is also, I think, a great story. Daryl Issa, he's a representative from California.
He retired. He actually resigned or retired for a couple of years, and then he came back. And he was actually a pretty good congressman when he was in, and now he came back, and he's being just as vocal. Thank God. He's a pretty good guy.
This is what he had to say. He had said teachers in California should be replaced if they won't go back to work. I'm going to give you a quote. He said, I would give them the same offer that Ronald Reagan gave the air traffic controllers. Do the science. Order them back to work. If they don't go back to work, replace them. It's that simple. The fact is, there are lots, and pay attention to this because this is true, because I'm living this because my daughter goes to private school. There is a lot of teachers who are teaching every day in private schools, in charter schools, and in small school districts, and they've proven they can do it safely. My daughter has been in school all year long, first grade, all year long.
Why are those teachers wanting to go? Because guess what? Those teachers are not interested in power and money like the teachers' unions. Go ahead.
This is a power grab by the unions.
Yes.
That's
all it is.
And here's another thing. You voted for it, America. The biggest example of systematic racism in America is in the public schools. Oh, it's not racist. Okay, I got a solution for you. How about we pool all the money from the richest communities in America to the poorest communities? So if you live in Beverly Hills or Bel Air, or you live in a fancy suburb of Chicago, or if you live in Alpine, New Jersey, or if you live in a fancy suburb like Coral Gables outside of Miami, we pool that money with the poorest communities in America, and we have one level of education. Everybody gets the same thing. The rich people and the poor people, because we care about the kids, right? Mm-hmm. We care about people of color and minorities and illegal immigrants, that they get a good education. Wrong. Why should black kids have a substandard education? Because they live in a poor community. Mm-hmm. Why? Not everyone could afford to send their kids to private schools or even have charter schools available to them. But they don't care.
Right.
And now it's a power grab. I want X, I want Y, and I want Z. And they will not go back to work. Who suffers? Poor kids. Do you think that poor kids have high-speed internet, multiple computers? Do you think that mom and dad, who are probably both working so they can eat in some of these communities, and grandma is watching the kids? Do you think grandma is teaching 4 kids in some poor community in Cincinnati or in Memphis? Give me a break. Do you think that they have 4 computers, all for each kid with high-speed internet? Those kids are all falling behind and they don't care. This is the biggest crock of crap I've ever seen. And we voted for it.
Yep.
Oh, we care about systematic racism. It doesn't get more systemic
And the
with
teachers'
racism
unions.
in America. And if you say, oh, no, then why don't we, I just gave you a solution. Why don't we pool all the money?
Right. They'll never
Why
go
don't
for
we
that.
pool all the money? Oh, does that mean my kid's education system goes down a notch? Spare me. Spare me. And I've been saying this for years. Way before I had kids.
Hey, Kat, just so you know, we know you didn't vote for this crap, and Joe and I didn't either. So when we say you, we talk about America in general votes for this
I'm
crap.
just talking about in terms of people who vote on the Democratic line, because this is the teachers' union is the largest union in America. In America. And this has been going on for years. I just gave you a solution that's equitable. I just gave you a solution that's equitable.
Right.
And it will never be addressed because these people buy into these communities. Oh, my kid has to have a printing lounge in his school. My kid has this teacher, and
They don't have clean toilets in Central High School in North.
they graduate 30% of their high school.
And they're worried about having a printing lounge. I'm sure they have a poetry club. In the meantime, in Newark, these kids are graduating, the ones that do graduate, they don't even know how to read or write. I don't blame the kids, and I don't blame their parents. I blame the systemic racist teachers unions who impose this monopoly. We were just talking about the MLB, right? We were just talking about the MLB. They're a monopoly. The teachers unions have a monopoly. They need to be busted up. Darrell Issa exactly right. You go back to work or you're fired. Well, we have a contract, right? You have a contract to go back to work. So you have a contract as long as you're working. And we're your bosses, so we tell you got to go back to work. But if you don't go back to work, guess what? Contract is null and void. You're fired. We'll get somebody else.
And that also keeps, same thing with sports. In all honesty, you have one game in town, NBA, NFL. Listen, this is the way it is. You're not going to make this type of money anywhere in the world playing football. So guess what? Toe the line.
Right.
Same thing with this. Toe the line. Because if you don't toe the line, who gets hurt? The kids.
That's right.
The kids get hurt.
But remember something. They don't care about the kids. Somebody's in the chat room. Mary. Hi, Mary. Mary Fatakis is in the chat room. She said, we need to have vouchers. Here's the problem, Mary. You're speaking our language. They don't want vouchers. They don't want charter schools. They don't want any money going to Catholic schools. So they don't want the vouchers going to Catholic schools because Catholic school education, which isn't what it used to be, but still crushes public school education. They don't want it. But who's being more adversely affected, as Joe just alluded to in his example? Black kids and brown kids in the inner city whose parents are being told, we are not giving you any options. And the mom might say, yeah, but that school over there only graduates 3 out of 10 kids. Well, that's because the state doesn't give us enough money. And they say, you get billions. What are you talking about?
North, I remember reading something in 2007, that a kid, I think it was $24,000 a kid.
Right.
And they graduated 3 out of 10 kids.
St. Benedict's Prep, and you guys know where we're going with this. St. Benedict's Prep, right down the block from Central High School in Newark, New Jersey. Okay, Catholic school probably costs about $12,000 a year, half the price. They graduate 100% of their students,
99% of them go to college.
and the predominant demographic at St. Benedict's are not rich white kids. They're poor black and brown kids, and they've been doing it for decades. Go ahead.
But in terms of money, so now it's probably more than 24,000. Say it's 30,000 per kid. That's all in. So say Benedict
from the state education.
Yeah. You break down the budget per kid and you do the math.
Right.
Basically, you divide it. It's $30,000 per kid. That's what the budget costs to basically put forth this program. So if Benedict's costs $12,000, you save 18. Doesn't that sound great? No, because they can't meet their pensions. It's about the teachers. I've been saying this for years. Keep voting for it, America. America keeps voting for it. keeps kids, to be honest with you, they can't get ahead.
Well, look, I was reading something on Facebook. Now, this was very superficially. Let's talk about New Jersey because our education system sucks. Okay, unless you're in suburban Essex County and some other areas, but as far as Newark, Trenton, Camden, these kids have no shot. Joe Rossinello, no shot
100%
whatsoever. So I'm looking, and I'm going to try to actually.
It's not because they're black or because they're stupid.
It's because the teachers' unions are systematically racist.
And the family has broken down.
Yes, that's true too.
When you don't have a structured family and you're going to a school that's basically a prison, you're graduating 3 out of 10 kids, you have no shot. I don't care if you're smart as a whip. You have no shot. Zero shot.
Right. But the thing is, like, you know, again, we can. I was looking at this guy, Jack Ciattarelli, right? He's going to evidently he's going to be in the Republican primary for governor, right? Guy's a joke. Now, again, this was a superficial analysis. I saw some of his positions. The guy's a joke. Nothing's going to change. Yet Republicans will think that they're going to react against Murphy. Now, I'm just using our state as an example, and we're going to vote for a Republican, Jack Ciattarelli. Guy's not a Republican. If anything, he's a white shoe country club Republican like Christy Todd Whitman and Tom Kaine. Okay, and he's going to do nothing to change what we're talking about because what we need is systemic change, but not the way the left uses those two words. Real systemic change. What's the biggest systemic change could happen for education, particularly for African Americans and Hispanics in America? Bust up the teachers' unions.
Charters and charter schools and vouchers.
That's the way you do it. You don't even have to bust them up. Just suck up their money. You tell a mother who wants to send her kid to St. Benedict's, we'll give you the 12 grand. Let your kid apply for your child. We'll give you the 12 grand if we get in. We save the state, like you said, $12,000, $15,000, $18,000. It's a savings for the taxpayer. Okay. Competition is what's going to end the systemic racism that's been imposed on African Americans through the education system. These teachers' unions are corrupt. They're racist. They need to go. And if you can't break them up, if you can't get a judge, because it'd be hard to get a judge to break them up in New Jersey, then you have to, by law, have competition. Vouchers, charter schools. That would do it, because then the teachers union would say, well, if the kids aren't coming to the school, we can't get the money. And what does Joe Rossinello always say? They're all about the money. That's what needs to be done. That's a step anyway.
And like I said, this is it to be honest with you, it baffles me how these communities still vote for Democrats. It baffles me. I can't understand it. If you have children in these systems, you're either uninformed, you've bought the Kool-Aid, or frankly, you maybe you don't care about your kids. I don't know, but I am baffled how you could support a party that's doing this to education in the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there is, next to abortion, which is also systemic racism, because all the abortion clinics are in poor neighborhoods. Many of them are black. Many, if not 2/3 of the children that are aborted, particularly in New York City, are black. So where's the voice there, Miss MSNBC? Where is it?
Or Maxine Waters. We started out the conversation with woke madam herself, Maxine Waters. Where are you on that systemic racism? Maxine Waters, her district is in South Central. You think that they're going to do vouchers and all that stuff in South Central? They're not going to do that. She perpetrates the racism. She lets the plantation system in the inner cities continue, okay, because she supports it, and she gets fat off of it. She lives in a $4 million house, you know, Maxine Waters.
How is that possible?
She lives in how are you? You're a public servant. How do you live in a $4 million house? You represent the people of South Central. How?
And once again, we vote for them. You see, this is the thing. People, I'll be honest with you. I'm beside myself. I am beside myself. I don't know how we allow this to happen, but we do. You know something? All the power to her. She just lies to your face. She perpetrates all this nonsense, and she gets to live in a $4 million.
Right, and she gets away with with inciting violence, because it, like we started the show, in her wokeness, told the BLM protesters, you get as confrontational as you can. One day, it's like, because somebody in all this wokeness, you know what the bottom line is? They're also smart, Joe Resinello. They're the smartest people.
You get away with it.
Don't forget it. They'll always tell you about their education. Don't pat themselves on the back. We're highly educated. People should have learned in the first grade, like Joe and I did, is that for every action, there is a reaction. Hopefully the things we talked about tonight, because we're not violent like the Marxist revolutionaries in BLM and Antifa, okay? We want to fight legislatively. We want people to exercise the power that they have under our system, particularly on a local level and on the state level, okay, where you could really affect some change. We want people to fight against them and fight against their wokeness and react to their wokeness by being good stewards of our money, becoming active in our communities, like with the school boards, okay, and places like that, taking back power where we could take back power, and all these different things that we could do. This is how we fight back. And then once in a while, you get a couple of ballsy senators, excuse my language, who come up and tell the MLB, you go down this road, then you're going to have your monopoly status is gone. Just as an example, things like this start to build. It starts to feed on itself. People start reacting. Then there's another reaction, another reaction, another reaction. And what all of a sudden you'll get the left back on their heels rather than us being back on our heels. That's what we got to do. That's why some of these things, fighting against them, we got to fight against them every way we can. One of the ways we do it is here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. Okay, we try like heck to make it happen, to cover stories that you might not be hearing out there. Okay, giving it our own Jersey spin. Some comments that we always said going back 2.5, 3 years. Our walls don't have PhDs from the Ivy League. What we have is, and what all of you have, we all have PhDs in common sense, and we see that none of this is common sense.
And it's also to encourage people. Joe said it, and he's right. We're here to encourage people. Stand up for the truth. The truth is like a lion. It could defend itself. It could defend itself. Americans have to be fearless. We have to stand up for the truth. That truth isn't party affiliated. It's the truth. Say it.
Right.
And say it loud and say it proud.
That's right. Let's end it there, but we'll end it on one final note because I just saw it. Colin, and thank you all in the chat room. I mean, I tried to mention a few and put a few up on the screen. Some great comments going on in there and some great conversations. Colin said, you have your hands full. Move forward with the power of the rosary. Viva Cristo Rey.
Amen.
Amen, brother. If we do anything good, Colin, and for all of you to know, and we want you to know this, okay? It's not because we're great. God gave us something and said, go ahead, guys, run with it. And we want to stay true to that mission. Okay, ain't about us. Joe just said it straight up. It is about the truth. That is what needs to be preached in this godless culture that we live in. Okay, and with this neo-Marxist regime that we have in Washington, we need to speak the truth. We need to speak it boldly. We need to be fearless. Joe loves to use the word fearless. That's what we have to be. And at the end of the day, we do it for the greater glory of God. He'll take it and he'll draw the greatest good out of it. We just have to keep fighting the fight. And it starts, I'm going to agree with Colin. I know Joe does too. Start with prayer. Start in here. Okay. Get right with God and then get out there and get in the fight. You agree?
Absolutely.
So thank you all for joining us in the Frontline with Joe and Joe. Wherever you see this video, please do something to promote it. Share it, like it, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell. We're across YouTube, Facebook, all of it, okay? And some of the more alternative sites that our producer, Jonathan Ross, has now built for us on Gab and Twitch and others. Wherever you find us, please support us. That's all we ask. And please keep us in your prayers. For Joe Resinello and myself, remember, until next week, that our conversation is your conversation. And that conversation, it's going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.